Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
An Australian court has found the Vatican treasurer and Pope Francis's top financial advisor guilty of child sexual offenses. I'm Mark Liverman with a reaction to Cardinal George Pell's conviction. He's the most senior Catholic cleric ever to face sexual abuse charges.
Now that the city is planning to move out of the Law and Justice Center, the county wants to too. I'm Adair Spab, and coming up, I'll let you know when a bond for the county could end up on citizens' ballots.
Happy Tuesday, Southwest Montana, 6:30. Chet Lehman, Missy O'Malley, Matt Elwell with you here. We had pounding from Mother Nature yesterday, and she's just reminding us she's still in the neighborhood.
She's still there, yeah.
People.
Mother Nature's still leading with the left at this point. It looks like we're going to be dealing with some scattered snow showers throughout the day. Dillon to Benida Pass closed on I-15, Targhee Pass, Reynolds Pass, both closed this morning. Snow impacts, I'm putting it at moderate. It's still snowing out there. We're still going to have to deal with it. But the ice impact is high and temperatures are bitterly cold with the exception of West Yellowstone. West Yellowstone sitting at 30 degrees. Rest of us below zero. Off and on snow showers expected through the day today. We have more snow on the way, including a bit of a cool down by the weekend. Much more coming up in just a few minutes.
Goody, another cool down.
Oh, I can hardly wait. 6:31, Mother Nature playing a role in our education system right now as well. School closures across a part of Southwest Montana today. Butte Public Schools are closed, and so are the Butte Central Catholic Schools, though I hear a rumor one of the middle school classes is going to meet to shovel out some sidewalks.
Wow.
So I think that's really cool. Anaconda Ramsey schools are also closed today. Anaconda and Ramsey. West Yellowstone schools are closed as well. Whitehall currently running 2 hours late. There are significant changes to the routes in the Three Forks district. You're going to want to check out their Facebook site for details of that. That's all we have right now. Again, keep an eye on that ticker at the bottom of the screen. Should there be any updates, we will update it there first.
Absolutely.
So we'll keep following that here on Montana.
Don't go out if you don't need to, as you said yesterday.
That's it. Get some of your homework done, kids. You've got plenty of time over there. So that's it. 6:32. Shifting gears to a much more serious note right now. An Australia court has found Vatican treasurer Cardinal George Pell guilty of child sexual offenses.
Pell is the most senior Catholic clerk ever to be charged with child sex abuse. CBS News' Mark Liverman has our latest.
Pope Francis's top financial advisor, the Vatican's economy minister, has been found guilty of child sexual abuse. Cardinal George Pell has been convicted of 5 charges of sexually abusing 13-year-old choir boys in Australia, crimes committed more than 2 decades ago.
The whole idea of sexual abuse is abhorrent to me.
That was Pell, the Vatican's number 3 official, in June of 2017, emphatically declaring his innocence. This is him today, swarmed by media moments after a judge's guilty ruling was made public. He was convicted back in December, but a gag order forbidding journalists from reporting it was just lifted. His victims now reacting.
George Pell is a monster, a freak. He has to be jailed. No home detention, none of this pathetic, weak justice. We want to see him in jail. We want to see him fry in hell forever.
The crimes happened when Pell was Archbishop of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Melbourne 22 years ago.
George Pell isn't the only one, of course, as we know. And for all those who have been denied justice, I hope that they can take some kind of symbolic justice from today.
Pell is due back in court Wednesday for the start of his sentencing hearing. Each of the 5 offenses carries a maximum of 10 years in prison. Mark Liverman, CBS News.
Now, Pell's attorneys have already filed an appeal. His convictions were made public just a few days after Pope Francis concluded his sexual abuse summit in Rome. Nearly 200 Catholic leaders were summoned for discussions on responsibility, accountability, and transparency regarding sexual abuse in the church.
Back here in the Treasure State, the Bozeman School Board chose the name for Bozeman Second High School at their meeting last night, and the choice, Bozeman West Slope High School. The other 2 choices the school board considered were Bozeman Spanish Peaks High School and Bozeman Stormcastle High School. Now, at the beginning of the meeting, the board was leaning more towards Spanish Peaks, but after one public comment saying the state fish was the West Slope cutthroat trout, they also chose for the second high school principal. That's going to be Erica Schnee.
But I've been meeting with student council monthly already to just get student feedback, but now that we are a little farther along in the process. I'm excited to kind of expand those kind of student input groups and get going with working with kids.
Now, Dan Mills, who is currently an assistant principal in Michigan, was chosen to be the next Bozeman High School principal. When asked what drew him to Bozeman, he said, quote, "When I visited Bozeman a few weeks ago for the interview process, it really just clicked. I felt right, and I called home right away and said how excited I was to be there, and so it feels like the right fit for me and my family right now, and I'm excited to become a community member." Next step for the board is choosing a mascot and colors for the new high school. The district will be collecting public suggestions until March 8th.
I feel like just the nickname West might catch on. West High. Okay, that's just me, maybe. Okay. In other news, Gallatin County officials are mapping out plans for a new Gallatin County Law and Justice Center.
MTN's Medeiros Babb was at the meeting yesterday where members decided an official time for when they want the bond for the building to be on the ballot.
Ever since Bozeman city officials decided to build a public safety center of its own, Gallatin County has been working on a new Law and Justice Center design. The plan is to build a 2-story building with county law enforcement on the first floor and courtrooms on the second. Now the next step is getting a ballpark bid on what the project will cost, which the architect and construction manager say won't be able to happen until the spring of 2020. Commissioner Don Seifert says the county can't wait that long.
What's the phrase? You shouldn't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I mean, we could mess around until 2025 and not come up with a project. We could look backwards and say, well, this is the project we should have done. But this is a ball that keeps moving. And to say, we have to draw a line. We say, we're going to do it now. This is what our project looks like. This is what we believe it's going to cost, and shoot for an end date for construction.
The date they unanimously approved to work towards is the ballot for November of 2019. However, not all county officials were in agreement. County Attorney Marty Lambert said he believes a delay in time is worth a better product.
There's various ways to look at that, but I would rather do it right and have the right project to ask the voters to support than to follow some type of expedited timeline merely because the commission thinks that that's the thing to do.
But the commission disagrees. They say the longer that they wait, the harder it will be to get the bond passed because the county will have to compete with the school district for taxpayer dollars. In Bozeman, Medeiros Babb, MTN News.
Now the commission will have to decide the amount of the bond by the August 6th meeting in order to get that on the November ballot.
And the Montana legislature has kicked off the last week of its first half session. It's known as the Transmittal Week. And as MTN's Mike Dennison reports, it's a hectic week with long hours, short hearings, a big deadline, and a lot of bills.
The 2019 legislature hits its halfway mark on Saturday, and if a general bill doesn't make it out of its original house by that day, the transmittal deadline, it's pretty much dead. With that deadline looming, scores of bills and their sponsors are making a last-minute push to survive. Even a sub-zero snowstorm didn't keep citizens away Monday, which began with packed committee hearings and long agendas. The 62 bills heard in committee Monday included one to allow legislators to carry concealed weapons in the Capitol. Sponsor Roger Webb of Billings said the lack of security at the Capitol means lawmakers should have the option of protecting themselves with a gun.
It's not a matter of when, because it's going to happen. We are the softest target this time of year in the state. People walk in this facility every day with a firearm.
The House Business and Labor Committee heard emotional testimony on a bill to increase the minimum required coverage levels for car insurance in Montana. Edward Morris of Bozeman, struck by a car in 2017 while he rode his bike, later discovered the driver had only the legal $25,000 minimum of coverage for Morris's injuries.
I was rushed to the hospital. My life was hanging by a thread. I was rushed into surgery. After I was getting released from the hospital, I received this punch in the gut from the financial people at the hospital that my bill was close to $160,000.
Insurance industry lobbyists lined up against it, saying it would raise premiums on car insurance and lead to more uninsured drivers. The House Judiciary Committee also heard a half dozen bills Monday, including 3 to limit required vaccinations. Most of these bills have until Wednesday to clear a committee, after which the House and Senate go to all-day floor sessions to handle the crunch of bills trying to make Saturday's deadline.
We always want to make sure every bill has a fair hearing and adequate time. However, when we're up against a deadline, sometimes time limits are basically constrained by what's in the committee at that time.
Some of these bills will make it, some of them won't. And if they do, they still have the next House to navigate. Let's just say by Saturday, there will be a lot fewer bills alive than there are today. Reporting from the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Lawmakers break for almost 5 days after reaching Saturday's midway point before they return to start the last half of the session.
One of the many reasons I'm glad I'm not in the legislature.
Yes.
Transmittal week. It is a busy time up there.
Crunch time. Crunch time, no doubt about it.
No question.
It is time for us to take a quick break. Here's a look ahead on Montana This Morning, as well as CBS This Morning.
Many point to the American classroom as the birthplace of our sometimes broken politics. Civics and government curriculums often take a back seat to math and science. I'm Mo Lulengi in Woodbridge, Virginia, with a look at the state of civics education and the impact that it's having on our democracy.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, President Trump lands in Vietnam today for his second summit with Kim Jong-un. We're in Hanoi to show you how the host country is preparing. And only on CBS This Morning, see what may be the largest seizure ever of ancient artifacts from a private collection. An FBI art crimes agent tells us why one discovery was particularly disturbing. See you with all that at 7.